Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of RecruitMilitary Live, a continuing series of live broadcasts covering all things military transition, veteran employment, mil-spouse employment, and much, much more. My name is Lucas Connolly, retired U.S. Army officer and former TAP program manager, here to share with you the ins and outs of navigating the turbulent waters of that transition from military life to civilian employment. If you're in search of meaningful employment, well, you're in the right place. Please visit rmvets.com/live to learn more. Okay, let's roll. Whether you've served in the military for 6 months, 6 years, or retired after 30 years of service, our nation appreciates our service, and based on that, gives us a wide range of benefits. Some available one-time use, some are available for a short period of time, and some of those benefits will follow you for the remainder of your life. Both information and misinformation can come flooding into transitioning service members and veterans alike from all different directions. It seems like everybody out there is a purported expert. It can be difficult to sort through it all. The esteemed gentleman joining us today is going to help us make sense of it all. We hope that by the end of the broadcast, you have a much better understanding of your veterans benefits and more specifically, how you can access them and take advantage of them in that first year post DD-214, that critical first year of after separation. Okay, we've got a great guest here today. Our guest today started his military career back in the 1980s. He earned his commission through an Army ROTC program at UMass Amherst and served as a finance officer, separating as a captain in August of 1984. Armed with a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and eventually a doctorate in economics, he started his civilian career at Price Waterhouse, the blue chip of big accounting firms. After 15 years with Price Waterhouse, he went on to serve successfully in roles with companies like IBM, MITRE Corporation, Accenture, Ernst & Young, and Kaiser Associates. From 2018 to 2021, he served in the role in the United States Department of Veterans Affairs, the VA, as Undersecretary for Benefits. Since leaving the VA back in 2021, he's dedicated himself to continuing to serve the veteran community, advocating for veterans, advising nonprofit companies, and for-profit companies alike on veterans issues. He writes a monthly veterans newsletter, appears on podcasts, as a frequent contributor to LinkedIn content, is an accomplished author and a bona fide subject matter expert on veterans benefits, which is why we have him here today. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Paul Lawrence.
Hey, Lucas, thanks for that. Thanks for that great introduction. I think it's going to be all downhill from now. So I really appreciate the kind words.
Well, it's great to have someone, who has seen the inside the walls of the great big monster that is VA and can speak authoritatively on the topic. So it really is a pleasure to have you here today.
Yeah, no, happy to help clarify information, as you point out, get information to people, and just remind them these are benefits they've earned. They should access them to really leverage them as they pursue their American dream post-service.
Absolutely. All right, folks out there in internet land, now that you know who we are, we'd like to hear who you are. Hit us up in that chat window. Let us know where you're calling, where you're watching from, who you are, who you're with, what your status is, who you served with. We always encourage a little bit of inter-service rivalry in the chat. Let's keep it light. And if you have questions, comments, issues, or concerns, feel free to light up the chat with those, and we'll address them as time allows. Dr. Lawrence, as they say down on the flight line, we are wheels up. Now, Dr. Lawrence, on this show and in other forums, we've talked at length about the importance of doing that disability claim. Being in the military is a contact sport, and some of us have got a few scars to show for it. That BDD process, getting after that claim before you're separate, is absolutely the right way to go. However, many people overcome with events, transition, moving, they just don't get to it. So what advice do you give that first-year veteran who may have missed the boat on the BDD but still wants to get that claim in?
Right. You're talking about disability compensation, which is one of the many benefits, but it's the largest, right? And this has to do with someone who was injured or disabled during service, right? Something's now happened to you and it affects your life. Maybe it affects your ability to work. Maybe it affects a whole range of things. So disability compensation is money paid for cover expenses and deal with foregone wages, right? Perfect world, you get it during your service, right? BDD. So day one as a veteran, you have benefits kicking in. But if you miss that window, there's 3 things you've got to think about for disability compensation. First, what happened to you in this service, right? If you hurt something, you have to be able to demonstrate this happened to me. right? Hurt my knee, hurt my ankle, whatever it was, I have evidence of this happened. Ideally, you went to the doctor, so it's your medical record. Okay. I was in the service when this happened. So here's where your DD-214, as well as any other military records that demonstrate you were in the service. And sometimes you want to demonstrate you were in a particular place. I was in Vietnam and I'm covered by the Agent Orange laws. You have to be able to demonstrate you were there. Finally, you have to demonstrate the connection, the fancy word is Lexis, between the conditions you have now and what happened to you in service. Because obviously, if you got better, you really don't have a claim. But if, I hurt my knee, it continues to bother me years later. So this would be, private medical records, some other medical records you have, and eventually maybe the VA will send you to a C&P, a compensation and pension exam, where they'll test to make sure the knee still has the problems you're describing in my example. So the quick answer to your question is have detailed records and documentation of those three things. If you have those, that forms the basis of your claim, and then you'll be asked to explain what exactly are you claiming? Because no one can do this for you. You have to be able to essentially cogently write out, bullets are fine. This is my problem, and this is why I should be covered by disability compensation. It's easy to describe, but it's hard to do. And I'm sure you've talked, Lucas, in other conversations about the importance of enlisting a veteran service officer, folks who are trained in VA's process, who will help our veterans at no cost complete their applications and the like, right? So again, get help, turn in a completed application so it can go through the system as easily as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, we as service members, we tend to, for lack of a better term, just suck it up and drive on. Take some Motrin, drink some water, stretch it out. You'll be fine. When it comes to the tail end of your military service, just get to the doctor. Let them know what's up. Be honest with yourself and with your medical provider about what you're going through. Just take it from someone who's steadily approaching 50. And I know that you're on the other side of that. I won't ask your age. It's impolite. But the older you get, the stuff doesn't get better. It's not just going to go away.
You couldn't have said it better, Lucas. Things get worse. So if it kind of hurts a little bit when you leave and you're 25, it's going to be more, okay? And this is particularly true about people's hearing, right? They leave and it's no problem, and then they wake up and they're having problems with hearing. It's probably service connected if you're around loud noises, and who wasn't, right? Or exposed to these kind of things. So absolutely, it's better to come early and get it on the record. So later when it gets worse, it's already there. And if you didn't tell anybody, you didn't go to the doctor, again, working with the VSO is great help. They'll talk to you about what's called lay evidence. Get a statement from somebody who saw this. Get a statement from somebody who saw you complaining afterwards. Get some additional evidence. So all is not lost if you didn't go to the doctor. So many people, Lucas, told me exactly what you said. We sucked it up. We took aspirin. We took naproxen, and we just continued. There is no documentation of that. Well, again, be a claim adjudicator. Be the person that makes the decision. They want to say yes if you give them all the information. So you're going to have to come forward with some information that demonstrates something happened to you while you were in service.
And I think the best advice out of everything you just said, based on my personal experiences, is getting a competent VSO to help you with this claim. These are complicated forms, complicated processes. I would not encourage anybody to try to navigate this and do the paperwork on their own. You've got lots of folks out there. I personally worked with the DAV. They were fantastic. There's folks at state veterans affairs offices that can help. Right. Lots of claims assistants out there. Watch out for the folks that want a fee. So notice there's some predatory practices out there. You should not be paying anybody to do this for you.
Right. So make sure they're accredited. So VA will do a little bit of background information as well as test them on the procedure. So if they're accredited by VA, that's great. Your rate, you're absolutely right. Your state has folks, sometimes your county, depending upon the state, how it's set up. Use DAV, American Legion, VFW, Wounded Warrior Project has a great team as well. So there are lots of options out there. You're right. There are people who will charge to do this. This is America. You have choices, but buyer beware. You have no cost options. Choose carefully.
Absolutely. And so folks out there, if you got a few dings and bruises, get after it. This could be money in your pocket, and we'll talk a little bit later about how it can impact your family and the benefits that can be extended there. Now, one of the biggest benefits, and the ones that a lot of folks hear about, is that VA home loan guarantee. as the country singer said it, bought his home on a GI Bill, right? So how do we get there? I find a house, I like it, I want to buy it. How can I help Uncle Sam make my American dream happen? Home ownership.
Sure, home ownership is a tremendously important value for our service, right? You get to purchase a home if you're a veteran, you leave honorably with no money down. And just to kind of put that in context, if you're a civilian, you go to purchase a home, you got to put down a down payment, 10 or 20% on a huge number. Let's call it, say, $500,000. You're going to come up with 10% of that. Means you got to come up with $50,000. You have to save for a while, and some people are not successful doing that. So as a veteran, you don't have to come up with a down payment, and later you won't even pay what's called private mortgage insurance, another thing civilians have to pay. So this accelerates your ability to purchase a home tremendously over civilians. And essentially, the process is very similar. VA is doing what's called guaranteeing the down payment. They're not giving you the loan. They're not, you still got to go get a bank or a financial institution to make the loan. But what you'll do is you'll get from VA what's called a COE, Certificate of Eligibility. You can do this online. It's pretty quick and says, yes, I am eligible for the VA loan program. When you go to purchase your home, you'll tell the mortgage company, I am in fact eligible for the VA loan, and they will complete the paperwork, right? And if they have any problems with this, or you getting problems, you can always call the VA. They have people there who can help them navigate it. The process has gotten easier, so there's no excuse if they don't do it. The good news about this is, again, no down payment, no PMI, but also you generally get a haircut on the interest rate. So it's about 0.5% lower sometimes, because again, VA is going to be there to help you. So it's a really good deal. It can be used for homes. You can use it for mobile homes under certain part. They have like concrete slabs, and there's a whole bunch of different ways you can use it. So don't be turned off. You can even use it for a multi-unit apartment if you live in one and rent the others out. I mean, you can do a whole bunch of different things. So it's a real value. And again, just think about this. At virtually everybody's portfolio, unless you're like super rich, a home tends to be the greatest asset, the biggest asset you have. And so I encourage people, take advantage of this. And again, many veterans will use the home loan to bring out the equity and start their business. So it's a really big deal.
So now, is this one and done? One home, one loan?
No. You can use it repeatedly. You sell your home, you buy another home later, you can use it repeatedly. Under certain circumstances, you can even go, have problems and go into foreclosure, and they'll let you do it again. So you can, it's not one and done. Okay. You can't do a lot. You can't do more than one simultaneously, I think. So you got to be careful about that, but it's not one and done.
Awesome. So I guess we could put that in the category of a benefit you carry with you for life. That's fantastic.
Yeah, no, and it's a huge one. Veterans own homes at a higher rate than most of the average population, and you can understand why. But don't miss this one out. Don't miss it. It's a bad time to buy a home right now. Interest rates are high. Supply is low. But, you just got to jump in, buy a home. It generally pays off over time.
Yeah, absolutely. I bought my first home with post 9/11. I've elected, based on the market now, not to be a homeowner, which is probably smart for a lot of folks. But if I do decide to go back into the realm of being a homeowner and a part-time handyman, I'm definitely going to use that benefit again.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about another thing that folks like to hear about, and that's education benefits. The older generation had Montgomery GI, then post 9/11, and now post 9/11 for life. Again, what does this really look like? I heard it's 36 months. It's for 4 years. What's the calculation?
Sure.
Help us unpack that.
Yeah, so let's talk about the last one, the Forever GI Bill, the Comary Act, signed into law in 2017, right? So essentially a couple of big things. One, the benefit used to be constrained to just 15 years. So if you didn't use it when 15 years after you left, you lost the benefit. Forever GI Bill is forever, so you can have it forever. Basically, let's think about somebody who's never gone to college, right? You go in, you serve, you come out. If you serve honorably for 3 years, you get the equivalent of going to a state university, a free ride to a state university. 36 months of college, right? So 9 months to a year, it's 4 years, right? VA pays the tuition directly to the university and the fees. And then you get a monthly housing allowance based on where you live to support you. Okay. So it's really pretty good deal. Many veterans are the first in their family to go to college because of this. Okay. So it's a really good deal. There's a couple little tricks. It's sort of, it's you got to know what program you're going to do, right? Because it's been 2 years, fiddling around, and then you wake up and say, oh, I want to be an engineer now, not a biology major. You may run out of the GI Bill because it's only 36 months at any one time, right? So you got to figure that one out. The other thing too, some people who are really clever say, I eventually want to become a medical doctor. I know that if I save my GI Bill education benefit for the 4 or more years I'm in medical school, that'll be much more valuable than if I go use it as my undergraduate. So there's some
that's
thinking
smart.
there.
Yeah. The undergrad's going to be cheaper and the medical school is going to be more expensive.
Exactly. So advanced education in general. So there is some cleverness to it. Now, somebody could be listening to us and going, well, that's well and good. I went to college already before I served. That was my thing. I had done all my college before I went into the military, right? But the education benefit now reflects how people get education, right? So you can get certificates or credentials, right? These are short periods of study where you master something that can really help you in the job market. So think if you're in a big company and you have a credential that says, I am a proven project manager. Maybe that helps you get promoted ahead of your peers, right? I'm a proven logistician, or I know Lean Six Sigma, or some business tool or application. So I would encourage people to think about it as there is some training now that's more specialized. It can be used for the trades, right? You can become an electrician, a plumber, all these kind of things that will lead to incredibly wealthy, wealth-producing jobs. So it's out there. It's a very powerful benefit. And now if you left the service after, I think it's January 1st, 2013, it lasts forever. So take advantage of it, if only in some of these, finite, quick, fast educational events.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Let's say, for example, you're only taking 2 classes at a time, which when hypothetically would make a 4-year degree last 8 years, you still only get 36 months, right?
That's right. You got to be really careful. That's exactly right. And also your housing allowance is a function of how much you are attending. So for example, you're attending 2 classes. What's called full-time is 12 credits. So let's call it 4 classes, right? So if you're taking only 2 classes, you'd be half-time. So your monthly housing allowance would be half of what the normal rate would be. So you can see how it can affect you financially if you budgeted for an apartment or a car and expenses, right? So it really behooves people to be very focused and know what they're trying to do.
All right, folks, you heard it here. It sounds like if higher education's on the plate for you and you want to have Uncle Sam pay for it with that benefit that you earned, it's time to make some decisions and go all in to get the most out of it. Okay, now let's attack the elephant in the room here, so to speak. In years past, the VA earned itself a not quite sterling reputation as being the best to serve veterans. I won't lie, my grandfather and my father had very negative experiences when they came back from their service overseas. Strangely enough, as much as I anticipated that I would stumble over working with the VA, I never had any issues. I've very quickly gotten referrals to, community practices. What has changed?
Well, I think everyone's embarrassed to hear the stories like you repeated about your father and grandfather, right? I mean, really, the VA goes back to like 1930 when it was officially one agency. But, there weren't that many veterans until World War II, right? So it was kind of sleepy organization and suddenly explodes when 16 million people return and become veterans. This is not an excuse, it's an explanation because it's just terrible to think about. And of course, nothing is worse than thinking about the history of how we serve Vietnam veterans when they return. It's just shameful and sinful, right? And I think that experience drives everybody. So in the 80s, things just started to get better. And I think every administration has come along. Certainly this was true when President Trump was there about, veterans really do matter. They need to get better service. They need to get better attention. You point out Community Care Act, the Mission Act, the law signed by President Trump in 2018, gives veterans more and more choice. So I think everybody all along the way, and veterans issues tend to be very bipartisan. Everybody wants it to be better. And I think that's been the focus, right? And so it's expanded. The services have expanded, attention and the like. So hopefully there are more and more better experiences. Nothing is perfect, and that should be the goal. But for folks who maybe had a bad experience and don't want to come back, we always used to say, give them a second try, come back. It's different. It's better, and it's really trying to be better. So I'm glad you observed that trend. That's really the intention. And I think everybody there, regardless of what party they are, wants it to be as good as possible.
And here's another small benefit that I didn't even know about until my father actually works for the VA now. But he said to me, hey, when you go to the VA, don't forget about your travel pay.
Right.
I said, what travel pay? He said, well, how far do you drive? I said, I drive about 55 minutes to get to the VA. It was stop by the travel office on your way out, fill out the voucher, you get some gas money in your pocket.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. There's a whole series of benefits. Again, this is why VSO is so important, right? It shouldn't be, somebody who knows, right? So yeah, there's a whole series of benefits like that. If you're under certain circumstances, there's a clothing allowance, right? If your body, has been changed because of combat and the like. So yeah, there's a whole series of benefits.
All right. Now, I see a trend. Of course, we as soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Space Force Guardians, we represent, we live the value of selfless service. Others before ourselves, the team, the mission before ourselves. So a lot of veterans, they're just not interested in pursuing the benefits because they've kind of talked themselves out of it. Oh, I don't want to take from somebody else who really needs it. I'm not that bad off. It only hurts a little bit. So you mentioned something to me when we talked last week. You said, do it for your kids, do it for your family.
Right.
I never would have thought that. Could you explain?
So let's do two things. Let's go back and dispel the myths you just talked about, right? So again, these are earned benefits. These are not entitlements. These are earned benefits. So if something happened to you, you want to use the GI Bill, these are benefits our veterans have earned by honorable service, okay? So that's something anybody could have, but only if you join the military and serve honorably. So this is a unique set of people. American people through Congress have passed laws that allow these benefits. And what they've stipulated is the money that used for pay for veterans benefits is mandatory spending. Congress must come up with the money. If there is more, because more veterans are applying, the money doesn't go away. So it is false to say the benefits that Lucas now applies from take away from Paul. That is inaccurate thinking. So please don't think that, okay? The second thing is, you're not taken away from somebody. Nobody's worse. The money will be there. So don't think that. Okay. The other thing is, what happens is benefits are available to your family under certain circumstances. Okay. And one of them is what happens to you because of what you did in the military. So for classic example, you serve in the Mideast, you're exposed to burn pits, you're service connected for something related to burn pits, and you die from that. Okay, your family will be covered by a series of benefits because of your service. But if you did not register and did not go and apply for benefits, there would be no connection to your service and nothing for your family. So that's what people mistake. I say, I'm good, I'm fine. Just like you said, Lucas, it doesn't hurt. You go, wait a minute, time out. Yeah, what about your family? What if something happens to you because of your service? So that's really what I remind people of.
And here's one that I didn't know about until about a year or so ago. Excuse me. As a 100% service-connected, total and permanent rated, my kids have tuition benefits at state schools. Here I was in my first 2 years sending my kids to college. I'm shelling out the money foolishly for tuition. And then a good friend of mine who's a veteran said, well, because I was complaining with him about that, I was like, college is so expensive. He said, well, wait a minute, aren't you 100%? I was like, yeah. He's like, you get college benefits for your kids. What are you writing checks for? So I recently got those for my son, and I'll tell you, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. If you look, a lot of states have benefits, especially for the circumstances you're describing. So I think as people understand VA benefits, they also need to look at what goes on in their state, right? Because if you're 100% in many states, you don't pay taxes, property taxes, right? So here in Virginia, that's a really big way they tax us. So the 100% folks avoid property taxes, and that's fine, right? They have Virginia special education assistance and the like. So it really is designed to help you, and help your family. So yeah, you should definitely check in what's available for your family, especially from the state.
And bring that DD-214 the next time you go down to your local Department of Motor Vehicles. They've got veterans plates. You might have enough in your disability to qualify for a handicap plate, even if you don't think you need it. It's great parking. Here in New Hampshire, any city that has parking fees, meters. If you've got that plate in your car, you don't have to pay for parking.
Yeah.
Free licenses, free fishing licenses, hunting licenses for life. Ask the questions, folks out there. Ask the questions. We have more benefits coming to you then
And don't forget, let's build on that real quick. If you bring your DD-214 to the DMV, they will mark your license that you are in fact a veteran. And when you go places, make purchases, ask about a veteran discount. Many businesses have them. And again, they'll say, well, how do we know you're a veteran? And you'll show your license where it's checked veteran, right? So again, let's not take advantage of things, but folks want to help veterans. And I've regularly asked for a veterans discount. And I'm surprised how many people have offered it like willingly. Said, oh, thank you. We're more than happy to do this. We get it.
Yeah, actually, I got that. Recently went out to dinner with my family, and the kind gentleman that served us asked me for my ID before I bought some beer. And I said, well, thanks. I haven't been carded in ID in a long time. Thank you. Bless you, son, for that. You've just made my day. He looked at my ID card, and I didn't even know it was on there. The lower right-hand corner, there was a little indicator that I was a veteran. And he promptly told me I was going to get a 10% discount and thanked me for my service. Never saw it coming.
Yeah, no, I've asked multiple places, at theme parks, at training, when I purchased training. Again, you'd be surprised how many people are so willing to do that. So again, if we don't ask, we don't ask.
Okay, let's talk life insurance. If you've got some folks out there that depend on you for income and support, you probably ought to have some life insurance just in case something unexpected happens. I've heard the raging debate in every corner of the veteran community, VGLI versus private life insurance. What do our folks need to know to make that decision?
Yeah. Well, if you ask anybody who is older, what advice would you have given your younger self around financial stuff? They will almost always say, purchase life. I wish I'd purchased life insurance sooner. Okay. So the headline there is, yes, buy life insurance. Okay. The real challenge is to figure out how much life insurance to buy. So when you look at VGLI, I believe it's capped at $500,000. So that seems like a lot of money until you kind of do some analysis and say, if you were to pass and you're the primary breadwinner, you leave a spouse and some kids, $500,000 might not go very far. So really, I think if they do a search, they'll tell you it's like 10 times your salary, right? So that could easily be in the millions if you're mid-career, right? So the real challenge is to find the right amount of life insurance. So it's yes, buy life insurance, find the right amount so you are covered and something happens, right? And so that's really the challenge. Yes, you can max out VGLI, but you're probably going to need more. And that's where you just got to do good old-fashioned shopping. The life insurance market is highly competitive. They compete all the time to get folks to buy life insurance. So yes, my strongest advice is buy it, shop hard, but make sure you get the right amount. Don't be underinsured. That's the best advice I could offer.
All right, let's round out the conversation with that last stage. I think we all know none of us is gonna be the first person to live forever. So there's gonna be an end of life. It's coming for all of us at some time. For me, it'll be 50 years from now of natural causes, laying in a feather bed. But I'll tell you, my experience here is when my grandfather passed away, my grandmother had absolutely no idea, didn't know where his records were, didn't know what to do, what the benefits were, who to call. What do family members, potentially one day survivors, children perhaps, need to know about those, for lack of a better term, final benefits?
Yeah. First, let's pile on your example, because when I was in office, I heard many of these, right? So basically the phone call went like this. Hi, I'm a 90-year-old female. Again, kind of think generational thing. My husband, who's a veteran, just died. I don't know anything about whatever. Where do I go? And I don't even know how I'm going to make the payments for next month because his benefits have stopped, right? Because disability compensation is a function of the veteran, not the family, right? Nothing was more disturbing to hear, right? Grief, tremendous grief, and now having to deal with the VA bureaucracy sort of fresh, okay? It is a really bad experience. So the strongest best practice I can say to veterans is tell your family about your benefits. Explain to them what you're earning, show them the documentation, and then explain to them what to do if something were to happen to them. The best example I can give is somebody I talked to and said, yes, again, a guy, because of the demographics, right? I get disability compensation. I've told my wife all about it. I've introduced my wife to my service officer. I think it was American Legion. He's prepared to handle her through all the benefits. If something happens to me, this will not be a surprise. So again, share the information, explain what it is, and don't let the survivor's first time to deal with the VA be under tremendous grief and often time pressure. It's really just not a great experience to leave for your survivors.
Now, for some people, the most expensive piece of real estate that they ever purchase is that funeral plot. I understand that there are veteran cemeteries out there that may be low cost, no cost for honorably discharged veterans.
Yeah, well, so I don't know about the cost, but you can go to va.gov, and if you search around, you can do what's called a pre-eligibility determination for burial. Am I eligible to be buried at a VA cemetery? VA cemeteries are really very, very good. The sort of situation, the statistics are something like there's a cemetery within an hour's drive of 90% of America. Okay, so you can be buried there. I don't know what the cost is. I'm sure it's could be zero. I just don't know. However, you can find out if you're eligible. Again, you can't reserve a plot. You can't do anything. But at least in this example, your family would know, hey, if something happens, we can always go to the VA cemeteries.
And if the information I've received is correct, military honors at the funeral?
Absolutely. Oh, no, it's a real deal there. Really well kept. In fact, the part of the VA that takes care of the cemeteries, they call memorial fairs, they do so well every year. They do these surveys of how good a company helps its people. It's called the American Customer Satisfaction Index. You might have seen it, ACSI. And basically, they top everybody who gets surveyed about how good their service is in providing a memorial ceremony and then keeping the cemeteries up to snuff. So yeah, it's a really pretty good thing.
And you don't have to be near a military installation. You don't have to be right outside of Fort Liberty to get the appropriate honors. My Uncle Bobby passed away a couple of years ago. He lived in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and sailors from the USS Constitution came and did an honor guard and played taps. It was absolutely awesome, and we appreciate that. And I would have never thought, oh, there's sailors right down the road from here at the Constitution. There's wherever you are, somebody is responsible for your area of geography, correct?
That's right. That's exactly right.
All right. Well, Dr. Lawrence, I know that we could carry on this conversation for hours and learn much, much more from you. You are a subject matter expert, and we thank you for being here. If folks want to learn more from you, hear more about their benefits, where can they go?
So sure, a couple of things. So one is I did in fact write a book about benefits. So
Awesome.
You can purchase it on Amazon for less than $20. So and it answers a lot of these questions about benefits, easy to read, all in one place. That's one. You can learn more about your benefits if you're a Hardy. You can go to va.gov. They have a lot of information on their website. Folks who want to follow me in terms of what I'm doing, the social media platform I really use is LinkedIn. My name, Paul Lawrence. You can find me. I'm often posting information to try to just get the word out about what's really right. I don't think people on the internet are saying things wrong intentionally. Sometimes I just don't think they know. And I had a pretty unique experience where I learned all about the benefits and sort of how they worked, as you point, from the other side. So I really want to get the information out to veterans because I really do believe, and it's a really important, I think, Luke, is to think about what you're trying to do with transition, right? You're supposed to transition, get a great job, get a house, get education, do all these things. And so many of these benefits are designed to help that, to make the transition, and then later really good for veterans. So I really want to let them know there are things out there they've earned, and they should use them most effectively as they go forward.
Dr. Lawrence, you've had a long and distinguished career. I know that you could be at Pebble Beach playing golf and enjoying the sun, but you're taking time out of your life to largely uncompensated, lend your expertise to the veteran community. So on behalf of myself and my fellow veterans, thank you for dedicating some time that you could be doing something else to continue to help and to serve and inform us.
No, and thank you, Lucas, for what you're doing. I know RecruitMilitary is really in there trying to help folks get an excellent job, an excellent career. I mean, the meaning and purpose of that job brings is really important, and the connectivity. So I'm a big believer, and we've got to get veterans jobs because good things happen if you're working. So thank you again for what you're doing.
And on behalf of RecruitMilitary and everybody who joined us today, thank you very much for taking a few moments out of your day today to be with us. And folks, If you haven't already done so, do yourself a solid. Use the link, rmvets.com/live. That'll take you to the Recruit Military website, where you will find over 300,000 job opportunities for more than 16,000 employers around the world and around the corner. Find information about our job fairs held monthly, nationwide, in person and virtual, as well as a library of content, all designed to help veterans, transitioning service members, and mil spouses find meaningful employment. This has been Lucas Connolly for Recruit Military Live. Until next time, good luck and Godspeed.